Hello, I'm Johnny Cash. Actually, I'm Jay Robinson, but I just always wanted to say that. Almost brought that. Wow, look at this. These images, which I created as part of my master's project, Living with Loss in the Anthropocene, are my representations of climate change after reading climate science and related articles. As you pause on these provocative images, I'd like you to ask yourselves, what does climate change look like? How does it feel? With Living with Loss in the Anthropocene, I set out to discover what the hullabaloo surrounding climate change was all about. I found that issues embedded in climate change discourse, fossil fuel burning, deforestation, ocean acidification, and human population growth, for example, all point to sustainability concerns and warrant immediate attention and action. That action is bolstered by our sense of agency, which in this case is influenced by the positive or negative opinions of the reality of climate change. In a nutshell, we can either choose to believe that climate change is real and act in our best interest, or we can choose to believe that climate change is much ado about nothing and do nothing and let future generations deal with the problems of climate being caused today. When I embarked on my Anthropocene adventure journey, it wasn't because I was on a mission to gain enlightenment or on a quest to save the world. My motive was not so altruistic. In fact, I was running, hiding actually, from death, and from that perspective, I am a coward. Facing death is not an easy thing to do. As someone who spent the last 6 years as an academic, it was a no-brainer to hide away in a book. That book took the form of climate change and end-stage liver cancer articles. My wife, Elena, was diagnosed with that accursed disease at about the same time that I was imagining the substance for the Anthropocene adventurer. Being the darling that she would sometimes help with my school projects. This project would be our last. She would die midway through its completion. Doing this project helped us cope with her expected death. Climate scholars have suggested that a turn to the Kubler-Ross grief cycle, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, might help to lessen the emotional divide that can be created by the often invisible and distant effects of climate change. The suggestion is that if we personify climate change, perhaps as I have, in linking human grief and loss to the abstraction of climate change, the emotional distance will close and the invisible become visible. The Anthropocene adventure was conceptualized as having multiple forms: a campus climate change club, a website, and a magazine. The very busy slide you see before you is representative of that. In the top left-hand corner are excerpts of the interview I had with the campus newspaper. The article subtitle reads, "If it's under the sun, it must have something to do with climate change." The article speaks to environmental consciousness and to a space where students can share their climate stories and concerns while discussing possible solutions and coping strategies. But that collaboration needs to happen everywhere, and that is what the image in the top right corner represents. It is a website I developed to encourage climate change conversation in the public sphere. It would serve as the test bed for the magazine. Diagonally centered are the magazine covers, digital photo collages that show surface issues embedded in the act of climate change. Some of the smaller images show how social issues such as race, class, and gender are submerged in the undercurrent of climate change. Others point to pollution, an energy consumption byproduct and primary driver of climate change. I would like to publicly acknowledge at this time Professor Beverly Natus of our Culture, Arts, and Communication Division for exposing me to a wide variety of contemporary art forms, including digital imaging, photo collage, photo text work, and culture jamming. She provided the impetus that drove the conceptualization of the images. The takeaway? The 5 stages of human loss and grief can be seen as synonymous to the stages of climate grief. By promoting this connection, climate change might become universally relevant to everyone. How? We simply transpose the loving feelings that we have for each other onto the earth. We'll take better care of her and ourselves that way. Thank you.